What going on, everybody? This is David Mitchell here, voice of Autism, episode 121. Mm-hmm. And it's been a good week, and also I'm feeling tired because I just got home about 15, 20 minutes ago from helping my grandma get ready to help her move. So I'm a little bit tired from that. So yeah, but wow. It's been a crazy week, but a good one. Also, I finally sent the gifts out that I have for my fiance Val out by UPS. They should be getting to her by Valentine's Day, and I hope she loved the gifts that I got her. I really do. And she's here in the U.S. in California right now, so yeah. But me and my fiance Val are doing great. And I have a link to her YouTube channel down below for anybody want to go watch some of her videos. But yeah, now I am feeling a little tired from the day because it was a busy day for me. But yeah, and it's gonna be a busy day tomorrow too. But not particularly it's gonna be a lot more busy tomorrow than it was today because one, I'm going to church with my family, particularly because they want me to. And after that, we'll be helping my grandma with their part to help her get done with her move. So, yeah. But wow, it's been a crazy week. But yeah, I am feeling a little tired or a little crunk, per se. But yeah. But I do have a lot of stuff to talk about today. And it is crazy. But yeah. But it now it's starting to get dark outside anyway. So yeah. And it was a storming day the day before yesterday. Like Thursday night it was storming, but yeah. And been a while since we had a storm like that, but it's spring, or it's like springtime in a couple weeks, so yeah. But it's crazy. Ooh, being that road soon. Now to the new network I'm part of, we might be doing a interview with Mayor Tecklenburg in a few weeks or really soon. Not sure when we'll be doing it, but I am very interested in what go on. But yeah, we'll see and find out. But yeah, but let's get to what's going on today now. Let me go down to I'm looking what we have for today. But yeah. Okay, let's get to the article. Nope, did not want it to work properly, but let's see what. But yeah, it's been crazy. Well, let's get to
around 2011, for over 2 years, I was convinced I had some form of terminal cancer. As soon as I could convince myself I didn't have one form, I would find a new mole or feel a new bump under my skin or have a strange pain in my abdomen or see weird spots in my vision, etc. The logic and reason on the likelihood didn't matter. I could intellectually know it was unlikely. I would calculate my risk using Sears cancer statistics to help me feel less terrified. But I was still sure it was there, just not yet discovered. It is called hypochondria and is a form of obsessive-compulsive disorder. I have many forms of OCD, not just the quirky orderly type. I cannot imagine being told by a doctor I didn't have terminal cancer would feel any different from the constant intrusive thoughts and feelings. It was traumatizing. I still have panic attacks just thinking of how awful it was and that it may return. For 6 months, I became a full-time alcoholic and was barely keeping my recording studio commitments. I'd start drinking vodka as soon as my eyes opened in the morning. It was terrible. I still have health anxiety issues, but not nearly as bad. A few months ago, I was given a colon cancer test to take home and mail in by my new physician. I threw it away. I know that my brain confuses likelihoods. Just taking the test, in my mind, means there's at least a 50-50 chance of positive. I know this doesn't logically make sense, and I continue to work on it. But delusions can be untouchably powerful. We are more at the will of our brains than we like to admit.
That is true, and being that a friend of mine who is autistic, that you need to go to a mental therapist for that, because it's up in
CW death. I'm looking for other death-positive autistics. My stepdad died a little over a month ago. He got the terminal diagnosis a week before Xmas. I basically coped by watching Ask a Mortician, and now I'm obsessed with death positivity. I'm even considering asking for work at my local funeral home. I'm basically creeping out most of my friends and family at this point, LMAO. So seriously, if anyone else has a special interest in the death industry, then I would love to chat to you.
I would say no to that, because one, I know we all die one day, but that's a mental problem right there in itself. And me being autistic, and yeah, I have seen a lot of people die through my life. But it's crazy.
I just wanted to stop by and share a little happiness with you wonderful people. Green heart, making these patterns, chaos versus order, is my favorite kind of stimming smiling face. Today I did my go to repetitive patterns on a monster leaf that sadly had to be put down. I didn't want the oldest leaf of the whole plant to end up in the trash before trying to conserve it, so I'm pressing the leaf. And I'm very curious to see the result, eyes, and even if it doesn't turn out the way I hope it will, I had a lot of fun. Green heart.
But that was from another autistic. Every autistic person is different.
Hello, friends. Does anyone else feel like they bond more with animals than they do with most people? I'm a cat person who has two clingy bois. Basically, I want to see your cats. I use they pronouns. Whoa, I never told y'all their names. The orange and white boy is Bilbo Baggins, and the fluffy pillow is Monty.
Not every autistic have that type of obsession with animals. And that's something I would say. Every autistic person is different from one to another. Nobody is the same, literally. Most people don't get that. But yeah.
This is my first time posting, and honestly I'm scared. I know next to nothing about the community I belong to because until last year I kept thinking it was anxiety issues. I started the BBBS program and my little sister is autistic. Her mother was very observant and started communicating with me about some of my traits that I now know are autistic traits, not anxiety. I always need a stuffy on hand. I have sensory overloads when I'm overwhelmed, and I'm still trying to find ways to cope. Today I finally got a newbie so I would stop chewing on anything I could get in my mouth. I do wish it was a little smaller though. I tend to repeat words when I'm not sure how to continue a sentence. I tend to headbang, hit my knees or temples, and nail dig when I'm upset and don't understand. My dad, for the longest time, denied me even having anxiety, so I grew up being told it would go away or you'll be fine. don't worry about it, etc. Being told about this group, I immediately wanted to join so I can learn of the rights and wrongs and also hope to learn some healthy ways to cope. Also advice on how to balance work and a healthy mental state as an autistic. If this is not allowed, I completely understand if it gets deleted. I don't know what else to do.
Okay. Whether that's or wrong, that I'll be honest about. That's it rude.
Hello. So looking for some advice here. I have this super sensory thing with lotion and lip balms. I can't stand them because they feel thick, filmy, yucky, constricting, etc., etc. However, I always feel so dry, and my lips are always cracked, loudly crying face. Does anyone else have this particular sensory thing? And have you found any products you can use without getting that icky feeling? Also, I have to wear my socks inside out because the crease on the toes bothers me to no end. Face with hand over mouth. That one isn't a problem, but people around me make fun of me for it. Haha. Anyone else have that one too?
Well, everybody is different. I'll just say that. But yeah.
A woman posted this question in a local parenting group, and 75% of people have responded with teach the importance of eye contact. How can I best explain to them that eye contact can be incredibly painful and next to impossible for some kids? It hurts my heart to think there may be ND kids in that class who would be shamed by these uneducated people for not making eye contact.
Yeah. People like that don't understand autistic people. Like, literally, that eye contact thing can be painful for some. It don't bother me that much, but I do get tired from it. But some people sometimes, do, and it sometimes do hurt. So I'm like, right now, but this time I would say, everybody is different. Eye contact can be painful for some autistic people, and not everybody is the same.
Hi, looking for support and any advice. But of course, delete if not allowed or problematic. I am not autistic. I am, however, non-neurotypical. My 6-year-old son is also non-neurotical. He is confirmed for Dandy Walker variant. We're awaiting testing and evaluations to see what else we're working with. We found that a lot of therapies and tools that autistic people use help him, such as weighted blankets, weighted clothes, noise-canceling headphones, so I'm hoping someone here may have more insight into how he's feeling. Recently, when he becomes overstimulated, he turns to hurting himself. How can I help him? What would help you? I'm working with his doctors, therapist, anyone who has more knowledge than me, but I still feel so in the dark.
Well, it depends. Like, Jane that overstimulated him, get that out of there. That's my advice. Like, if it overstimulates, then that thing that overstimulates, get it out of there and don't let it happen. So, yeah.
Question for fellow autistics. Allistics can respond if they are relaying the answer from an autistic person they know. I'm considering learning to play the violin in the near future. Besides the various other considerations, I'm concerned about the stress of pressing on the strings being too painful. I have a very sensitive sense of touch, especially in my fingers. I know that might sound silly since everyone has more nerve endings in their fingertips, but still. Are there any autistics here who play a stringed instrument, or who have tried to learn one, who can share their experiences with this?
I tried doing something like that back in high school with a guitar, and I ended up causing chopping in my fingernails to bleed without even knowing it.
CW pregnancy. Looking for advice on how to tell my mom, who is autistic, I'm pregnant, and hear some wholesome stories of parenting while autistic. We've had multiple conversations about the fact that my husband and I have been trying for 6 months now, but every conversation she says I never told her and she thought we were waiting another year. She keeps telling me she doesn't think I should have kids because she hated being a parent and it caused her to have pathological demand avoidance. I don't have demand avoidance, and it's also really hurtful to hear how much she resented me when I was a very sick child. I called to try and tell her the good news, and the conversation devolved again into her trying to tell me autistic women don't make good mothers. I'm just hurt and don't understand where she's coming from.
No reason why that happened is because her mother had an abusive husband, and her mother might have gone through herself. But autistic women can make fantastic mothers. And sometimes the abusers make the people who are the victim think otherwise.
Something that is bothering me lately, and I've seen it in a few places, including here, is people using NT and ND to mean allistic and autistic. There's nothing wrong with those, they're not offensive terms, but they're not the same thing. Someone with depression is ND, but they're not autistic. If you're trying to say something about allistic people and use NT, then you're excluding a huge amount of allistics. If you're talking about autistics and use ND, you're including a lot of people with mental illness and disabilities that are nothing to do with autistics.
Okay, that a question on its own. That could be a crazy one, like. But yeah.
My editing response to another parent flake drawing, gently remembering us we are eternal burdens for martyr parents. Before verses. After editing. Nothing about us without us.
Yeah, murder moms and parents and people who don't like autistic make it look like a burden. Look like we are not wanted. Those people are the bad. And they're check with the same awaited group you can await to people who hated black and who was Nazis. So yeah. But for people who don't understand, they get manipulated by those people or get dragged in and had no idea. But it's a story on its own. And I could go on and go on about it, but we got others to talk about it too.
The news captured my son on video. I am sure you can see who it is. I asked him if I can meme him and he giggled. Text reads, in a sea of blue, be gold and shine a light on neurodiversity.
Oh, I see his son. Her son. But yeah. It's crazy. But to think about it. No way.
Happy Fake Field Day. Party popper. Precisely 10 years ago, Dickhead's con artistry got retracted from the Lancet. Clapping hands, light skin tone, clapping hands, light skin tone, clapping hands, light skin tone, smiling face with smiling eyes, raised fist, light skin tone, raised fist, light skin tone, raised fist, light skin tone. Here are some scientific links to offer to anti-vax woo-woos. They probably won't read them, but I'm sharing anyway. Heart. Wakefield's deliberate fraud and surrounding events. Web links. There was no whistleblower. Web links. Web links. A new study. Web links. Vaccine myths debunked. Web
But yeah, it's all about the fakers who we bleach for no reason, who didn't want to get rid of. Look, we're human too. We are a minority. We have the right to live too. So you people who out there think people like that need to be eradicated, you need to go to hell or get them serious prison time, because you're technically like a Nazi if you do that.
I'm back on some advocacy stuff today with the presentation I'll give on the radio of Pixar's short film Loop about autistic involvement and representation. I'll take this opportunity to go full beast mode and take a shit on Autism Speaks, the ableist inspiration porn film, or norms, and other loosey media depictions. Radio. I'm ready. Nothing about us without us.
Yeah, that right.
This one goes out to the Autism Speaks, Vax, Taka, Autism 1, Generation Rescue, Spark, ABBA, MMS, etc. # martyr parent crowd in the back row. Middle finger, light skin tone, start hearing us and spreading word. Autistics are not a burden nor an epidemic. You are. Hear me out. The rate of autism isn't increasing. Testing and public awareness have improved significantly over the past few decades, and diagnostic criteria have broadened. That asterisk is why diagnoses have been on the rise. Guitar. Web links. Many parents and professionals are in the dark ages when it comes to autism. Yet all the major studies continuously show no reason for alarm, and all of the epidemic theories are debunked. When parents know and believe the right info about their kids, only then can they see what we're capable of. Winking face. Living life believing your brain is faulty isn't good for mental health, nor is living with parents who believe such and thusly don't address or consider the actual root causes of our problems, as they wrongly assume them to be autism symptoms. Sad but relieved face. Ever heard of co-occurring, comorbid, med conditions? Autism is merely our neurotype, not a disorder. Silly world. Angry face. I'll be posting articles about each of the scams I just mentioned in the comments. Hard happy Friday to you. Party popper. Asking Gotta Sticks, what you doing this weekend? I'll be working on my advocacy songs. Musical notes. Actually autistic, hashtag where ain't an epidemic, hashtag proudly autistic.
Yeah, I think it just started raining outside. 1 minute, guys. Nope. It didn't noise. But Spark, we do have some connection with Autism New Network, but we might be thinking about cutting our ties with them soon and tell them if they don't quit with the narcissistic stuff, we'll right up. Because Spark is going down the sketchy.
Why you should hire an autistic person right now. Autistic people have been overlooked too often because employers can't see past social skills. That is a big mistake. By Simon Baron Cohen. The 3rd of January 2020. Nick D. Burden. In 2020, there will be a sea change in how autistic people are treated in professional settings. As companies are increasingly celebrate diversity in the workplace, diversity of gender, ethnicity, and ability, this will extend to neurodiversity, different kinds of brains and minds. Autistic people's disabilities are widely known, but one of their best established strengths is their attention to detail.
That's true.
Anecdotally, there are autistic children who can complete 1,000-piece jigsaw puzzles with the picture side face down, just through focusing on the shapes. This suggests a talent, sometimes called a savant skill, in both perception of and memory for detail.
I'm sorry, it's
Advertisement. Advertisement. Scroll for more. Group studies conducted by psychologists have confirmed these anecdotes. In the embedded figures test, in which subjects have to find a target shape within a larger design, autistic people, both children and adults, perform faster and more accurately than non-autistic, neurotypical people. In visual search tests, where subjects have to find a target stimulus in a large display of close-up postures, such as finding a letter T among a sea of letter Is, autistic people are also faster and more accurate than neurotypical people. This remarkable attention to detail is basically excellent pattern recognition, and it appears to stem from systemizing, an evolved function in the human brain that helps us understand how things work by analyzing a system in terms of its underlying rules. Like any skill, systemizing occurs on a bell curve in the population, with some people being faster at spotting patterns than others. Autistic people are often strong systemizers. Indeed, their attention is often described as obsessive, as they check and recheck the patterns of a system.
That is true.
This important skill has a number of benefits in the workplace. Autistic people's excellent attention to detail means they may make fewer mistakes, and their narrow focus may mean that they are not satisfied until a task is completed. The high levels of honesty and loyalty that are closely associated with autism are obviously desirable qualities too. Advertisement. Yet despite these strengths, autistic people experience high levels of unemployment, primarily because many jobs require strong social and communication skills to get through the interview stage. In 2020, we will see companies encouraging autistic applicants to apply to work for them and recruitment processes being modified to meet their needs. There are several reasons why this will be a welcome development. Firstly, it extends the basic human right to work and employment. Secondly, employment is closely correlated with good mental health, and autistic people often suffer from poor mental health, most likely because of forms of social exclusion. Finally, teams in the workplace that are diverse are often more productive and more innovative. With the right support and reasonable adjustments, autistic people make wonderful employees. In 2020, their remarkable strengths in pattern recognition will be harnessed for their benefit and the benefit of all in society. Simon Baron Cohen is professor of developmental psychopathology and director of the Autism Research Center at Cambridge University.
But yeah, they're a lot different. But yeah. Let me try to get Val on right now. Let's get her. She might be busy right now. But yeah. But just think about it. It's crazy, you know? I get Val tired from the day. You know? But it's a crazy thing. Like, literally. But. But it's crazy, too, if you did think about it.
Tomorrow is a perfect opportunity to me to get back with some advocacy business since the general strict started. First action of this year and decade. We'll be with Autists again, cooperating with groups of self-advocates with psychiatric conditions. Tomorrow we'll be discussing and contributing to organize an updated equivalent of the Mad Pride scheduled for this year, June 20th. Our main focus will be hearing the discussion around the relation between the patient and the professional.
Friend called me while I was Raymond. And, you know. But, yeah, crazy.
Advocacy business since the general strict started. First action of this year and decade. We'll be with Autists again, cooperating with groups of self-advocates with psychiatric conditions.
That'll be great.
Tomorrow we'll be discussing and contributing to organize an updated equivalent of the Mad Pride scheduled for this year, June 20th. Our main focus will be hearing the discussion around the relation between the patient and the professional.
But yeah, it's crazy if you did think about it. And what happened right there, what friend called me in the middle of the live stream. If you guys know what I mean, what do happen. But yeah, it's a crazy thing. But it's up and down good for our community. If you guys know what I mean. It's crazy and mind blowing.
Researchers link autism to a system that insulates brain wiring. February 3rd, 20,200, 5:34 p.m. ET. Heard on Weekend Edition Saturday. John Hamilton. Listen 3, 433-minute listen. Toggle more options. This image from an electron microscope shows a cross-sectional view of an oligodendrocyte, blue, among nerve fibers coated with myelin, dark red. In models of autism spectrum disorder, oligodendrocytes appear to create too much or too little myelin. Jose Luis Calvo, Science Source. Scientists have found a clue to how autism spectrum disorder disrupts the brain's information highways. The problem involves cells that help keep the traffic of signals moving smoothly through brain circuits, a team reported Monday in the journal Nature Neuroscience. The team found that in both mouse and human brains affected by autism, there's an abnormality in cells that produce a substance called myelin. Shots, Health News. Minute brains in a dish shed. That's a problem because
that way up and that propaganda right there. I'm bringing it up. That propaganda and more of an excuse to get rid of us. To think about it.
That's a problem because myelin provides the insulation for brain circuits, allowing them to quickly and reliably carry electrical signals from one area to another. And having either too little or
Did
too
it
much of this myelin
propaganda
coating can
and
result
it
in a
not
wide range
her?
of neurological problems. For example, multiple sclerosis occurs when the myelin around nerve fibers is damaged. The results, which vary from person to person, can affect not only the signals that control muscles but also the ones involved in learning and thinking. The finding could help explain why autism spectrum disorders include such a wide range of social and behavioral features, says Brady Marr, a lead investigator at the Lieber Institute for Brain Development and an associate professor in the psychiatry department at Johns Hopkins School of Medicine. Myelination could be a problem that ties all of these autism spectrum disorders together, Marr says. And if that's true, he says, it might be possible to prevent or even reverse the symptoms using drugs that affect myelination. If we get to these kids really early, we might be able to change their developmental trajectory and improve their outcomes, Marr says. It's possible to make these cells
what we
healthier,
call
adds Drive.
propaganda.
Daniel Weinberger, director of the Lieber Institute and a professor at Johns Hopkins. And it's never been a target of treatment in autism. The study adds to the evidence that myelination problems are present in several developmental disorders and in particular in autism, says Dr.
It's a propaganda.
Flora Baccarino, a professor in the neuroscience department at Yale who was not involved in the research. It also shows how one faulty regulatory system in the brain can lead to either too much myelination or too little, she says. And that may help explain why people with autism spectrum disorders may have brains that are either unusually large or unusually small. By subscribing, you agree to NPR's Terms of Use and Privacy Policy. NPR may share your name and email address with your NPR station. See details. This site is protected by reCAPTCHA and the Google Privacy Policy and Terms of Service apply. Shots, Health News. Researchers find a web of factors behind multiple sclerosis. Researchers involved in the study came upon the myelination problem while looking for something else. They were studying brain cells in mice with a gene mutation that causes Pitt-Hopkins syndrome, which can include features of autism spectrum disorder. We saw a signature that suggested there might be something wrong with myelination, Marr says. So that was pretty surprising to us. More experiments confirmed that there was a clear deficit in the cells that control myelination, which are called oligodendrocytes, he says. This was true not only in mice with the Pitt-Hopkins syndrome, but in other mouse models of autism too. Next, a biostatistics expert named Andrew Jaffe looked at a genetic analysis of brain tissue from people with autism who had died. And that experiment also found problems with the system that controls myelination. To fully understand what's going on though, the problem needs to be studied in developing brain tissue, Baccarino says. That should be possible, she says, using tiny clusters of human brain cells called brain organoids, which can be grown in a petri dish. Baccarino's lab has created brain organoids from the cells of people with autism spectrum disorder, which might reveal how the myelination problems begin, she says. Brain myelination really does not start in earnest until the first year or two of life, Weinberger says.
And
this is around the time that autism is first apparent. That might eventually mean a treatment that corrected a problem with myelination could help children who are diagnosed early in life, he says. Several such treatments are being developed to treat people with multiple sclerosis, a disease that erodes myelin.
They're all fucking propaganda, and it's a lie. The reason why I said that is because of what they said and how it was done. What are we? Just think about it. The only reason why it's up, they're doing it is they want to get rid of us. The writing it on the wall, and if we don't stop it, by it's gonna be a problem. They tried doing it to the blacks. Not joking. They actually tried doing it to black people. And I mean it. Even the Nazi experimented on people. But if you did think about it, all they want to do is to get rid of in any way necessary and spread propaganda and all that. Like it all lies. Like that article was a full blown lie with propaganda mixed in. And here, Gene, what they said in that article was a full blown fucking lie and not true. It's neurological in the brain, but here, Gene, and not right drugging someone up just because you want them to act like you. Reason why they're doing it because they wanted to act like them. Racist people, narcissistic people who are crazy, who want people to act like them, white supremacists, Nazi people, people who are superior, who act superior when superior and not a Jane, all want stuff like that to happen to us before they get rid of us. And it needs to end, and we need to call all this shit out for what it is and get rid of the hate. People who hate people like us will do shit like this. And I mean it. Call them out and get justice and get them put away, and there will be less hate towards the autistic community. And that's something I actually really do mean.
I know not everyone is interested in these studies, but they've become something of a special interest of mine. So, there has only ever been one RCT, randomized controlled trial published on ABA, and it involved only 15 people. Usually, there has to be an 100-person RCT on a treatment before it is rolled out to the masses. At any rate, I thought that the Abayers and their low standards had somehow got around ever having to publish an RCT, even though everyone else has to do this. I also thought, wow, they don't even believe in their treatment enough to try submitting it to a regular scientific trial. But it seems that some of their own researchers actually believe in their treatment. They have registered an 8,000-person RCT to show that early screening plus EIBI will give autistic children better long-term outcomes.
No, it won't.
This is in order to justify to the government the expense of early screening. It is somewhat amazing that this trial has been registered. However, it has already reached its first bizarre moment. The study is listed as having started in 2017. But the number of subjects involved in the study has already dropped by over half from the time it was registered. They are down to 3,450. There are a couple of problems as far as I can see, and I don't know if they can get by the first one, which is that early screening tools are very poor at picking up autistic toddlers and infants. Maybe we will never get to the ABA part, which, heavens above, would involve blind raters rather than parents as the judges for the outcomes. My guess is this study will die long before it is published.
It's good enough for us. And also, it might call ABA therapy be gone like the wind, would it deserve to happen?
Autistic enough. Post author positively pinko. Post dated February 3, 2020. No comments in autistic enough. Sticky post. Photo by Marcus Spisk Temporausch. Com on less than ahref equals web links rel equals no follow greater than pixels. Every now and again I get that feeling that I'm not autistic enough. So here's an experience that put that little thought in its place. We had a very emotional art therapy group last week. At the end of every session, the therapist checks in with each member to see how we are and if we are in a good emotional place to go home. This is especially vital when we've had a taxing session. It's important that each of us have some self-care strategies, and this check-in reminds us why we need them and to use them. So, we went around the table. People talked about their responses to the day and what they'd do to take care of themselves. Then we got to me. I said I would go home and sort. That suits me. Everyone, the therapist included, looked mystified. You know, I said, I'll sort my pantry. Or get some colored beads and sort them into individual categories. By color, or size, or texture, or all three. Or line up the cutlery in their drawers. Or find some messed up wool and unknot each individual tangle. I expected a set of nodding heads. But enlightenment did not look like it going to happen. That's when I realized that enough is irrelevant. I am autistic.
Every autistic person is different in their own way. But yeah, it's crazy. Mm, sorry about my parent.
Anyone else read this book? I'm halfway through and hugely disappointed, I think partly because I find it highly unrelatable, but also that it reads like a Tony Atwood Appreciation Club pamphlet in places. I'm
Mm-hmm.
disappointed that I'm disappointed. I really wanted to like it.
It's up now, but yeah. But we're almost done with it's up today, but
Parents, do you shout too much? I used to shout a lot too, which meant my kids started shouting back at me.
mm-hmm.
I didn't like being spoke to like that, but how could I say anything without being a hypocrite? What did I do? I printed off loads of love hearts, cut them out, stuck them in random visible places throughout the house. The idea is whenever anyone shouts, someone fetches the nearest love heart, they give it to someone and tell them something they like, love about them. They also act as a visual reminder not to shout.
Mm-hmm.
I shit you not, I did this for 2 days straight and the shouting immediately stopped. I got the idea from using mindfulness. I can recommend stuff on that too, but maybe not just yet. One thing at a time, thumbs up like skin tone.
I'll be honest, that is smart to do because you did.
Update, thank you for your feedback. I can now use my influence to change things for the students in my school and hopefully district. A query for the autistic community.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to contribute, please just indicate your NLI. Thanks. So, what's the stance on the puzzle piece symbol for autism? I'm a SPED teacher, and my department wants to buy shirts for Autism Awareness Month with that image. I thought I'd read in here that it's not appreciated, perhaps even considered to be derogatory now. If so, any alternatives so we can show our support for the autistic students and families we serve? Thank you in advance for your help.
Okay, my idea is to do the affinity symbol. The affinity symbol is a better representation.
Update, thank you.
I'm sorry, but just think about it. It might sound crazy, but just think about it in a way.
TW, filicide. I made this blog post in response to some troubling comments I got on a previous post about filicide, including one saying, if you haven't experienced autism, go volunteer somewhere to learn how exhausting just 8 hours a day for a month is. I've also linked to a few of my favorite resources for families, caregivers about establishing calm and peace at home.
Did I have feeling a propaganda right here where I'm about to burst their bubble on? And you guys know I like burping bubble when it comes to propaganda and tearing them a new one. You guys know how I feel about that.
Eradicate ableism, revisited, an open letter to families of autistic people. Content warning, ableism, filicide. When the first thing the parent of a child with a disability hears, over and over again, is, I'm sorry. When we blame disabled children for divorce or compare caregiving to serving in combat.
No, it's not.
When we assume that a disabled person is a burden, these ideas have body counts. Julia Bascom, Autistic Self-Advocacy Network. In November 2018, I wrote a blog post about disability filicide, the murder or attempted murder of disabled people by family caregivers.
Not true.
I described a widely publicized case of attempted filicide, the Stapleton case, and focused on the warning signs that preceded the crime as a way of trying to predict and prevent such crimes from occurring in the future. In this case, a mother blogged about her autistic teen daughter and her frequent aggressive outbursts before attempting to kill her through carbon monoxide poisoning. Well, my post has gone viral and received more than 3,500 views and several comments. On this week's post, I want to address a few comments I received that made me think harder about what we need to do to prevent filicide. I received a few comments from people stating that they didn't condone the attempted killing, but that they understood where the perpetrator was coming from. They then elaborated on the hardships of parenting an autistic person who behaves aggressively, stated confidently that ableism was not a factor, and pleaded for more compassion for caregivers.
Bull crap.
Firstly, I am glad to hear that my readers don't condone murder. We agree that harming a disabled person is no less reprehensible than harming a non disabled person. From this point of agreement, we can have a conversation. Secondly, caregiver burnout is certainly real. Family caregivers are human and certainly deserve compassion. Anyone who feels like they understand the desire to harm their child, even a little bit, must be in a dark place. And supports for autistic people and their families are absolutely flawed and in need of reform. But providing more support won't be enough to stop filicides.
Mhm.
The Stapletons were approved for 24-hour in-home care days before Kelly's crime.
Mhm.
In other filicide cases, like the killing of George Hodgins and Alex Sportalakis, perpetrators turned down offers of help shortly before their crimes. So, offering more services isn't enough. Thirdly, a commenter wrote, if you haven't experienced autism, stop rejecting those you don't understand and learn about what it's like.
I'm
The commenter then
autistic.
suggested volunteering at a music therapy place to see how exhausting just 8 hours a day for a month is. A non-autistic parent of autistic children may know a lot about what it's like to care for an autistic person, but they haven't experienced autism. A non-autistic parent, brother, sister, daughter, son, spouse, or other relative of autistic people hasn't experienced autism. A non-autistic program director, support worker, or volunteer serving autistic people hasn't experienced autism either. The only people who have ever experienced autism are autistic people. I will repeat that. The only people who have experienced autism, who know what it's like, are autistic people. They are the real experts here. They are best equipped to help caregivers troubleshoot challenges. I haven't experienced autism. When I started Disability Wisdom, I wanted to learn to be the best ally possible to those with disabilities different from my own. So, I started reading blogs written by autistic writers who generously shared their experiences, including their traumas and vulnerable moments. One of the biggest lessons I learned is that aggression is not an inherent autistic trait.
That's true.
When an autistic person acts aggressively, just like when a non-autistic does, they are doing it because something is wrong. Autistic people may get triggered by different things than neurotypicals, but the principle is the same. Aggression is a fight response to something. It may take time to figure out what that something is and how to fix the problem. The triggers may not be anybody's fault. But when caregivers listen to what autistics are saying, verbally or otherwise, about their triggers, when care is taken to remove triggers and de-escalate situations, aggression and other challenging behavior can be reduced, making life better for everyone involved.
That's right.
Something we very strongly recommend, if you are looking for further guidance or input, is to find an autistic adult or mentor local to you, who can meet you and your child, observe their environment and interactions, and give feedback on what kinds of changes or interventions might be helpful. From We Are Like Your Child, linked below. But parents are still calling their autistic kids violent to strangers. Parents like Kelly are writing blogs about how their kids are in a hard-to-love club. Parents are publishing books like I Wish My Kids Had Cancer, promoting harmful chelation treatments for autism, or Autism Uncensored, where a mother boasted about wrestling her terrified young son into a noisy Elmo show in the name of therapy. As long as contempt for disabled people is given a voice, we are going to keep seeing filicides.
That's true.
This is what I mean when I talk about ableism, and when I say that our lives depend on eradicating ableism.
We need.
I also follow a couple of parent blogs. Two mothers of autistic children, Beth Ryan and Jess, give me hope. These mothers both have kids with co-occurring disabilities alongside autism. I have seen their blogs evolve over time. Both mothers regularly read and signal boost the words of autistics. They both admit when they say things that are unintentionally hurtful. And most of all, they are both unapologetically, shamelessly in love with their kids. I am in awe of the love that spills through my earbuds when I read their blogs with my screen reader. Both these moms have hard days. They don't deny that. But neither of them would ever dream of harming their children because they love their children so much. It is your role as a loving parent, and you don't need a behaviorist. You just need the love and compassion you already have for your beautiful child. Dealing with aggression really is a situation in life where love conquers all.
That's
Go
true.
forth now and vanquish suffering with curiosity, compassion, and calmness. Maxfield Sparrow, transmasculine autistic author. Caregivers, I know you don't have a ton of free time, but each of you had enough time to read my post and comment on it. One of you asked me to help educate and encourage families of people with disabilities in their struggles and daily challenges. So, I've carefully compiled the links below. I urge you to take 5 minutes and read at least one of these pages. Resources created by autistic people, as well as resources shared by Beth, Ryan, and Jess. Practical and philosophical advice that is time tested to bring peace back into your home.
Mm-hmm.
If these pages speak to you, share them with your networks. Let's work together to find solutions, build acceptance, and save lives.
Mm-hmm. We admit, the article was not bad, and it was pretty good.
So, what do we know about Ambitious About Autism? I'm definitely concerned from a quick browse of their website.
Hmm. Oh boy.
Ambitious About Autism's Right from the Start Toolkit. From the autism assessment process to the first day of school, this toolkit is packed with practical tips and checklists to support parents during the earliest years of their child's life. It also provides signposts to sources of support or additional information.
Oh boy. I have feeling that something that autism speak would do, so I would not trust it. Oh boy. That kind of got me very concerned. And I mean very concerned. If you guys know what I mean. But this blog was pretty good. And I admit, it did got a point across. And did something that autistic people go through on a daily basis, but people don't understand. But yeah. It's a little crazy, but just think about it in a way. Mm-hmm. As for, I think I'm gonna go for an hour in a while.
I searched this group for discussions on DBT and found that the comments were generally positive about its effectiveness. The main methods to apply DBT where I live force the client to also participate in group therapy.
Mm-hmm.
In my mind, the concepts and skills should be able to be taught in individual therapy.
Mm-hmm.
Are there methods of applying DBT without the group therapy component?
The answer is no. And I mean it.
TW ABBA. My state is huge into ABBA. The Charter School Spectrum Academy K-12 is all about ABBA. The Autism Council of Utah has no one on staff who is autistic. I applied to be on their committee and they never accepted me. They are also pro-ABBA. I am starting a group in the northern part of the state, and someone else is starting an autistic-led adult group in the capital city. I feel overwhelmed.
No reason why they are not liking it because they are realizing that we're fighting back. And they want to make it hard any way they can to stop us. For people who don't realize. It's exactly something I mean. Like literally.
Probably a weird question. We have a son that is almost 4.5. He was diagnosed at 18 months. My husband and I try to be the best we can for him. One of the reasons I am in this group, to get insight from others, and don't ever ask him to change who he is or what he is doing, unless it is harmful. All of our friends and their kids are realistic. While some of them mean well, the constant questions and, why don't you do this? Have you tried? Start to drive a person insane. How do you go about finding adult autistics or those with autistic children close to you without it being weird? I mean, I don't want to put out a searching for post that sounds like a dating profile. Unamused face. It would be nice to have friends that understand my son and our life. Plus, people in these groups seem to be more helpful and decent than any other type of parent group. And I have heard knowing others that understands your child is a great thing. Does that make sense? I am having a massively bad brain week.
It's crazy, but just think about it. It's up that actually does happen. And finally, we're now getting up to the top from articles, and all three of them are of my fiance Val. But yeah.
With 2010 Miss Universe fourth runner-up Maria Venus Raj, the Bicolana beauty queen with a heart, pictured during the 2015 Miss Possibilities laughing face.
That, well, a long time ago, my fiance drew that, but yeah, it's amazing. Now we get to the next scene.
Thank you, Street. Scholasticus College Manila for supporting my journey in Miss Possibilities 2019.
Mm-hmm.
It was indeed an inspirational fight for inclusion and understanding on women with special needs. As a student, this was the greatest achievement in my long life mission to empower inclusive relationship amongst special needs individuals, especially in the collegiate. This is Belle Beria, your Miss Inspirational 2019 of Miss Possibilities continues to support and lead the special needs community through literacy and hospitality to educate all about inclusion.
And that was from my
Chooses
fiance
Joe,
Val.
SSC Manila, late post.
But crazy. My fiance Val was Miss Possibility for that year. It what amazed me in a way. What was mind blowing.
Maybe you need to put your clothes in the dryer, son.
I will in a few minutes.
And the food, I think, is here.
Okay. But yeah. Once I get done with live stream, I'm going to be going to put my clothes in the dryer, and then after that, get ready for dinner. But yeah, it's crazy if you did think about it. Ooh. But yeah.
Our next participant is Belberia. Sparkles. Hyperactive, proactive, but also secluded are some of the words that would describe this young lady. Gifted with a good singing voice, she has wowed audiences not only here, but in the international stage as well. She clearly set the bar high for her siblings to follow when it comes to singing. She has also attended several conventions local and abroad, which gave her the opportunity to showcase her talents and made a name for herself. Though very independent in her ways, her family hopes that she learns how to be cautious, especially when she is on her own. Sparkles. Get to know Belle better on September 21st, 3 p.m. at Function Room 5 SMX Convention Center, Manila, SM Mall of Asia. Sparkles. Miss Possibilities 2019 is brought to you by Miss Possibilities Foundation, Inc. in partnership with SM Cares and SMX.
Here at Chamber, people don't know. Mall of Asia is the biggest mall in the world. But that was from my fiance Val. But yeah. I will in a few minutes. I'm live streaming right now.
Well, I was asking, do you want the one with onions in the rice or without?
Without.
Okay.
But yeah. It's crazy. But yeah. Now let me find one. It was on September 21st. If you think about it. But yeah. Of 2019. But yeah. It's a crazy thing, but she did amazing when it came to her singing. Like, literally, it blew my mind. And it will. If you guys know what I mean. But yeah. She is a very talented person. And she is my fiance. But yeah. It's crazy, but also mind blowing. But yeah. Now, I hope you guys enjoyed the live stream. I hope you guys are having a great Saturday. And I hope you are looking forward to Valentine's Day next week. And I hope everybody enjoyed their weekend so far. And I hope you guys find my video interesting, motivating, educational, and all the above. And I'll talk to you guys later. Signing out. Bye, guys.